How are you guys?
Very
Doing
good.
well.
Hey,
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you for having me as well. I want to congratulate you guys on fabulous Filipino brothers. It speaks volumes on family, culture, and love, and it's totally funny as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you guys are so welcome. So I know that Mr. Dante and Darion wrote the script mostly, but both Dionysio and Arianna helped as well. So let's start with the idea. What made you guys want to write the film? Let's begin with you, Mr. Darion.
Well, we've been in this industry for a long time, and throughout the years, I mean, over 35 years. So throughout the years, we've always discussed writing something for us, with tailor-made roles for us, and it just became time. I mean, and when we started to do it, we talked about our family stories and also stories that we've worked on as actors through the years and seen each other do performances. So we wanted to craft something that was to our strengths as actors as well, right?
Yes.
You have anything to add, Dante?
But yeah, basically, when I pitched the film to Signal Entertainment in the Philippines, they greenlit the film. They loved the idea of the movie, The Fabulous Filipino Brothers. I told them I was going to direct it. My first time, my directorial debut, and they really got behind that idea. At that point, we didn't have the script. We just had the ideas,
Right.
and developed the segments, the vignettes for each brother. Me and Darion banged out the first draft in the first month or so. And we knew exactly what kind of characters we wanted to craft for each brother. Then we brought Dionysio in and Arianna in to help with the writing process for many things, for comedy, for female voices, but also because we're tiptoeing around real stories in our family history, and we wanted to make sure everybody was on the right page about it.
Absolutely.
And have care in writing about it.
Well, you guys have directed films before in your own right? So what made you guys all decide that Dante can direct it this time?
Well,
Was there any fight? Was there like, are you guys doing this?
no, not at all. I mean, it was the impetus was Dante, and we all got behind him as his debut to really do this. I mean, this is an important project for all of us, really. But it was important for us to be at the top of our game to support him in his debut as a director as well,
And Dante's been producing Asian American films for quite a while now, over the last decade or
Yeah.
so. So it was his time he felt to up his own game to direct this film about our family stories.
Oh, you know what? One of the things I love about the film is it's very observant of our culture, right? How fun was it? How fun was it to highlight our loving idiosyncrasies?
And that's kind of like what it's all about, right? I mean, that's
That was
what
the
it's
best
all
part.
about.
I mean, within each segment, each vignette of the film, there's a lot of Filipino-ness that happens.
Yes.
And I think everyone has a different experience with how they got to can infuse our culture in their
Exactly. I mean, the whole thing was in writing it and coming up with ideas for it. You're right. It was to celebrate this crazy culture that we grew up in and that we love. You know what I mean? It's our people. It's our family. It's what we know. I mean, we're Americans, but we're Filipino Americans.
Yeah.
So that's very specific. And that was really what we were trying to highlight and celebrate in the film. So I'm glad you got that as a Filipino too, that we were giving glory and honor to our roots in a way. You know what I mean? And what we see as should be celebrated and known. And these are things that are odd and funny, but great to be,
And further, as he said, we're Americans and Filipino Americans, but we're also Asian, right? But then you have Derek's scene talking about being a jungle Asian and differentiating that, while still, of course, respecting it in all comedy and fun, other Asian cultures.
But I mean, it's true. Dayo is right. But you know what though? I also love your well-formed characters. So let's talk about them. Let's begin with Mr. Dayo, the protective one, the cock whisperer. Describe him to us.
We crafted this to each of our strengths, and in real life, I am the big brother, and everyone congregates at my house now, and the cockfighting thing stemmed from we grew up with chickens. And we had to go out and get
Lovely.
them.
We didn't fight them. We did
not
fight
fight
them. Our family didn't fight them.
No
No, I
chickens
said,
for
I
Mark.
said, I said chickens because that's a
We did.
rooster.
We did.
We had one rooster. And
Although
then-
that is our culture too. In the Philippines, sabong is big.
very big.
You know what I mean?
But we got in trouble. Our family got in trouble for having a rooster. You know, my grandparents lived with us, so we had to kill the chickens, get rid of them. And my grandfather made us do it, and I just had a hard time with it.
Right.
That's how it translated into this movie. We had fried chicken for dinner, and none of us ate
None
it.
of us ate it.
Wow.
We're not eating it.
Oh,
Although
and
that's
then
the precious time, right? Although
Yeah.
that's the precious time. That's what makes us so American, too, right? Is that we can, that's the, from farm to table. That's real farm to table.
From our shed.
exactly, we were doing that before everyone's. We were organic before everyone's organic.
Exactly.
Totally.
Seriously, you know what? And Mr. Dionysio, the stud who knows how to eat swap out properly.
Let them know. Let them all know that I'm the stud. They don't believe that. I would roll for that and show the world I am a funny stud.
Oh, you are. I told you. I mean, you can eat shop out properly because I think of a million ways to eat languniza. So
Oh,
that's
that was, yeah, that was. It was. I love the fact that I get to introduce the world to Filipino food like that. You know, and it's such a entertaining and crazy way. And hopefully, you know, when you're with somebody that you adore, you recreate the scene.
You literally make Filipino food sexy.
Yeah.
just don't eat lechon when having sex. It's not gonna work. Mr. Dante, Duke, aka Douglas, the successful one, whose love story has a twist that I didn't see coming, and we don't have to reveal the twist, but it was totally unexpected, and that's why I wrote, when I was watching the film, I wrote, you know, this film speaks volumes and life's unexpected moments as well. Talk to us about your character.
Yeah, you know, has a lot of different layers to the character. The infidelities also run deep in our culture, as we know. We're very romantic people, and sometimes that leads to various things that cause trauma in the family. But I want to remark on that, but also I wanted to remark on just Philam's going back to the Philippines and connecting with being Filipino, and there's an underlying story there. And then the twists that happen, there's twists in all the stories. And again, that also stems from a real life story from our family and extended families. So these are the kind of things that inspire us in our art and our filmmaking and kind of infuse them in there. So like I said, this is a fictional movie, but everything is based in some reality.
Right. You know what? And thank you for bringing that up. And before we go with you, Mr. Darion, have you guys all been back home?
We have
Yes.
a few times now. We were back when Dante was shooting his segment in Manila there with Tirso and Solen, but we've also been back. Dante brought us back on a show called Balakbayan with the
I produced
Bascos,
the show with Giselle Tonji, G Tonji.
and we went and he took us back, our whole family with our parents too, to all kinds of different parts of the Philippines, which was awesome. That was kind of our first introduction there, and then we've been back several times since. It's always a profound experience.
I know.
great.
I miss home. I haven't been back home since 2018.
Ooh, yeah.
And then, you know, COVID
Of course.
happened.
The
I
world
don't
is
want to be quarantined for 20 days or whatever. You know what I mean? That's the only time I could go back home.
Sure.
And Mr. Darion, hard-headed and broken-hearted as Danny Boy. Your story is heartfelt and made me actually very whimsical. Talk to us about it.
Thank you. It is a kind of a, like, it's kind of dark, but it is very whimsical. You're right, and I'm glad you got that. It's very hopeful as well in the end.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we were going for. I mean, the story of the Danny Boy story is very personal to us in our family. So we were very delicate in the way we crafted it and the way that we went about it. We were so lucky to have Lisa Lapira also who plays opposite, who's fabulous and terrific. I mean, she brings a lot to it, and with that as well, Arianna writing a lot of the female voice in that one because she's speaking from her own experience as well. So a lot of it was personal, and we wanted to touch on certain things. And a big part of the film too, and my segment as well is is the flaws of our characters, you know, and overcoming the flaws and showing our pain and showing like that realness of a full character of who we are. You know what I mean? Like we have these traumas, we have these pains, and how do we get through them with support of our family, with the support of finding and the courage to find new things. I mean, that was the whole, that journey, that little journey is small, but it's a big part of our personal story as well.
And you might find support in the most unexpected person.
David.
Yeah. Oh, and Miss Arianna, Doris, our narrator, the one who holds the film and really the family together. I love that one observation, by the way, that the film has about Filipinos and our gender roles, right? Boys are highly regarded and girls not so much, although they are truly the ones who bind and hold the family together, right, Miss Arianna?
Yes, I've said this before in the Q&As. I heard from, I want to remember her name, from the San Diego Filipino Film Festival. One of the young women who interviewed us told us, if the man is the head of the family, the woman is the neck.
Yeah.
And I thought so profound. It was a great pleasure to kind of bind this together and find where we can sew all of these stories together throughout the script. And yes, it is called the Fabulous Filipino Brothers, but and my brothers, they're such seasoned actors, and they play the roles, Filipino or not, just actors, and play them so well and thoroughly, and have done such great work. But that would be nothing if their counterparts weren't just as strong as a voice. So that was really an honor to be able to write and comb through the whole script with a fine comb. I just said comb, comb twice.
Yes.
But,
I mean, the women are so important. My sister Cheryl Side playing opposite Derek, Crystal Kwan playing opposite of Dion, of course, Selene Sepp playing opposite Lauren,
And our mom and dad.
and Lisa Lapierre,
And mom and dad.
Wow, it's a whole family affair. What about Lola?
Lola's
And
great.
Lola.
Luminata, she's
Lola.
so good, and she's great. Like we couldn't get our Lola because she's in the Philippines in Subic Bay area, and she can't travel. She's older, but we got one, and we based it off of her, and she's terrific. She's great. I mean, she
Wonderful.
embodies the spirit of our Lola for sure.
Oh. Well, you guys had mentioned that there are shades of your personalities infused in your characters. So, Miss Arianna, you hold them together?
Yeah, I've done in real life,
Yes, in real life.
in real life and the movie.
Oh, no, let's talk about some of the things I love about the film. One of them is the theme. I mean, it is truly relatable, right? Even with our ethnicity in there, or even without our ethnicity in there, it's highly relatable. Was that the plan from the very beginning?
Most definitely. It's my directorial debut. We've been in the industry a long time, over 35 years, and we've been trying to fit in the box of Hollywood, of America.
Yeah.
Like all people of color in America, they're trying to like figure out who we are. And in doing so, like everybody in the audiences of Hollywood, we see ourselves through Hollywood films and stories. And it just so happens that through the history of Hollywood, it's mostly been through, white America, the lens of Caucasians, which is fine. They're great stories. And of course, we see ourselves in, you name it, The Godfather. We see ourselves in
Star Wars.
Star Wars. We save the world. We fall in love, get our hearts broken. In this film, we wrote this story. We got really personal. We told our story, and not the story for all Filipinos in the world or all Filipino Americans, but for the Philams that we grew up with, the neighbor we grew up with in Pittsburgh, California, our family stories. And in doing that, sometimes when you go personal, it becomes a universal story. And then now other cultures, I mean, it's great. Our Filipino culture loves what we represented. We love what we represented for our community, but then other cultures watch the film and are able to see their families and their siblings through us. And it's really a beautiful thing.
Well, yeah, Pittsburgh without an H, by the way. Also, by the way, Mr. Dante, look, I mean, since 1990, I mean, you've been giving us colored kids some hope that Rufio is out there playing with Robin Williams and Julia Roberts and Steven Spielberg. You know what I mean? So you guys you've been doing this since the very beginning. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Oh, now the last act of the film, one of the things I love about the film too is the last act. It has a lot to unload, right? First, being Filipino Americans, are the fabulous Filipino brothers really truly running away from their culture as what their mom said?
No.
No.
Well,
Growing up, you know, like I did all the cultural dances. We grew up, we were fortunate. The town we lived in, Pittsburgh, California, we were heavily involved in the Fil-Am community. That's where we did all our performances, our martial arts performances, our tap dancing, magic shows we did, everything. So we grew up in it, and our uncle who lived across the street, he was the mayor of the town. He was Filipino. So we had a unique experience growing up that we were involved in the Filipino community and we were going there. But what we wanted to comment on was that we wanted to encourage our generation to seek out their culture and go deeper, dive deeper into it.
Sure. Because we do want to have that that conversation is worthwhile. I mean, as we get more and more generations of Americans here, like from the homeland, the culture does slip away a little bit. I mean, it starts to. So it's worth having that conversation. Like, how do we keep the language alive? All those things are real and a conversation that we should have and we should talk about, you know what I mean? Because it's important to have that.
And we wrestle with a new thing, like we are Filipino, but we are American. So we are, all of us here are wrestling with, that's new. We are, you go back to the Philippines and it's a cathartic and it's beautiful and we're welcomed home. But everyone there also knows we're American the second you walk into the room. And so us collectively as a group of Phil-Ams, we wrestle with what does
that
it mean
identity.
to be Phil-Am.
Yeah, exactly.
And we are creating it all together. Every generation creates it for themselves. And so we just want to make sure, like, let's keep the conversation going with being Filipino as we evolve as Americans.
Yeah, it's a multi-generational topic, but we're not saying, in fact, I think what we're saying, or what I was saying and writing and working on it, is that these things don't define you as Filipino. But there's a spectrum of Filipinos. You speak Tagalog, you don't speak Tagalog. You're from the Philippines, you're from here, you're from Texas. Actually Queens, which is where Teresa, Lisa LaPera's family's from, right? I mean, in the movie, I'd say Filipinos love three things: cha-cha, gambling, and karaoke.
Right.
But then at the end, Lisa doesn't do cha-cha. And that doesn't make her less Filipino.
Yeah,
She's just
we're not a
from the
monolith.
East Coast.
And
you know?
obviously, generationally, there'll be different points of views on what it is to be Filipino as well, because their experiences are different, and that's okay. The conversation is okay, you know.
Yeah, you know what, Miss Arianna, you're right. You did show cha-cha, you showed a little bit of gambling, but you didn't show karaoke. I was so upset.
It costs a lot of money to get rights to songs.
Yes, this is true. Yes.
But it's totally true. Another thing that's totally true, by the way, is that last line. I'm trying to remember it. That Filipinos are bahala na. We're more accepting. We're not just adapting, but we're also very accepting, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That is true. I mean, that could be why we don't try to stand out so much, and so certain ways that have not kept us back, but keeps us in the cut, and as far as other Asian cultures or other things, because we're okay, because we could be other things. We could be Latino. We can be a lot of different things. So it's kind of like it's not specified unless we specify and take ownership of our story and tell you this is what we are. You know what I mean? So it has its pluses and minuses, but in the end, it helps us to survive. Yeah.
We're like a very welcoming, very
Generous,
just by nature. That's our culture.
Yeah, hospitality and non-offending. So, you know, you want to just not overstep your boundaries.
And
But I think we did a little bit.
But the thing about it is, in our careers, we've played a lot of different Asian cultures, a lot of different Latino cultures, because there's a lot in us. And again, what may, we will be a part of stories. And there's a lot of Filipinos in a lot of different communities. But now in this time of filmmaking, especially in Asian filmmaking, being a pioneering time in Hollywood, it's important to us to have our Filipino stories a part of this Asian movement happening right now. And so we're very honored that this film is a part of what's going on. And we're not the only one by any means. Yellow Rose came before us. We're doing this. Joe Coy's coming out with Easter Sunday. So there's a movement also of Filipino voices and stories being out there, and we just love being a part of it.
And it's about damn time, right?
At the beginning, I do talk about the Filipinos being adapting. And then at the end, I switch it to accepting. And when I say accepting, it's not to say that we're submissive. What I'm saying is that we're resilient.
Right.
And that we take the challenges and we go through it. I mean, like going back to Derek, like the cockfight, right? I mean, he loses at gambling and he just makes it happen. So
Yeah.
I think that Dion at the food scene just makes it happen. but really, we persevere. You know, we're set with a lot of challenges throughout history, but we persevere.
And it's funny because, you know, that word, that phrase, right? Bahala na. You know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but, you know, in the Philippines, we have gay ebonics as well, right? And our gay ebonics, what that's similar to bahala na is keber. Which is a keber, kebs, or we shorten it to kebs, like kebs.
Ah.
If, you know, if something bad happens, kebs, move on, right?
Oh,
Yeah, we didn't know, but that's awesome.
There you go. You learned something today. Keber. Right, Kebs. You know what, guys? I know there's a huge interest in the Fabulous Filipino Brothers, and many folks will be happy that it comes out on demand on February 8th. So this question is for all of you, and let's begin with you, Miss Arianna. What do you hope for viewers to get after watching the Fabulous Filipino Brothers?
Mostly, I want them to see themselves in our family, as stated before, as we've seen ourselves in so many movies before this, right? That wasn't based on the Philam family, mostly. But there was also a question last night about legacy that we were asked at the Q&A, and what we want people to take away from this. And one of the things I really appreciate about this interview right now is that you keep referring to us as our character names,
Yeah.
and our character names are actually our uncles and aunts. Like our character names are named after our uncles and
My
aunts.
dad's
Aw.
Family. So it's a beautiful, so that's part of the legacy too, you know, that this beautiful thing that's just part of the vernacular now. And when you talk about this movie, you're saying the names of our ancestors. And that's
great. Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Oh, you guys all agree?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, that's also a Filipino thing, by the way, right? Naming your kids with the same letters. I
Yeah, we do that.
think that's a Filipino
Yeah.
thing.
I'm Arianna though, because my mom's name starts with an A. But on my father's side, it was Damaso and Dolores. So everybody was
Jeez.
Duke, David, Doris, yeah,
Dulce.
Dulce, Dayo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, no, we haven't seen you guys together on screen since the debut. And we waited long for the Fabulous Filipino Brothers. So please make another one, okay? Like right
Yes.
now. Now.
We are. We're actually in production on another film. It's untitled right now, but we have half of it to go.
Francis Della
But,
Torre directing.
Yeah, another Filipino director, Francis De La Torre, and it's gonna be quite a departure from Fabulous Filipino Brothers and the debut.
But a lot of the backdrop is going to be in historic Filipino town here in LA. Shorthand, high five. The slang here, high five.
I can't wait for that. Real quick, by the way, Mr. Dante. So what did you learn from directing your first feature film debut?
I mean, a lot. Just I love filmmaking. You know, all of us have been around our whole lives here. I'm definitely a lifer in this industry, and I've been fortunate to wear a lot of hats, from breakdancer to actor to poet to writer to producer to now director. And you know, you learn it takes a village, takes a family to make a film. It's not just one person. It's really, thank goodness we've been able to put and carry the right people along with us. It takes our teams of people to make movies, and you know, you just want to be surrounded by a lot of great people and hopefully get the chance to put something great on film. And we did here, and in future things, the same thing. Trying to put the great teams together, lean on your producers, your cast, your production team.
Oh, you guys are all amazing. My fellow jungle Asians.
Hey.
My kapamilya. Love this family affair. I love this family. And I can't wait for our kapamilya to see the film. So good luck,
Yes.
good luck on that again, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Manny.
much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, and once again, the Fabulous Filipino Brothers comes out on demand everywhere you rent films on February 8th. So save the date. Support this film. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat.
Mama.
Kaber, and don't forget Kaber, you guys.
Kaber.
Kaber. Bye, guys. See you soon. Good luck on everything, okay?
Thank you, Manny.